Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back once again to another Fallout 4 settlement build. Today we're going to be checking out the saloon that I recently made, and before we begin, I just want to say thanks for all the support you guys showed on the first video. You seem to really enjoy that, so I'll try to get a new build out to you guys every week. But without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, so now we will go ahead and take a closer look at the build. And obviously we're doing things quite a bit different than we did last episode, so you guys are going to have to let me know, I guess, which version you prefer. I know the old way is quite a bit more cinematic, and although it may look cooler, hopefully this new version will be at least a little bit more informative. And like I mentioned last episode, I am going for a bit of a Western look. I know we can't really go full Western because this is quite a ways into the future, and obviously it's the apocalypse, and my main goal with this whole thing is not really to make the biggest, craziest looking building. I'd rather kind of go for something a little bit more, I wouldn't say realistic, but I'm going for something that kind of looks like it would actually fit into the Fallout universe. So we're trying to come up with not really a gigantic town, but at least one that kind of fills up this whole space here. I think that would be quite cool. But Western wise, you can see this is kind of like an old-fashioned saloon and whatnot. You have the little upper section there that really isn't a second floor. It's just kind of mainly there for a place to put a sign. And you also have some cool things like this. The bathtub here, which is supposed to be like a water trough for the Brahmin. So that's pretty neat. We also have some barrels around. You'll see there's quite a few of those inside as well. And then another cool thing I found that was included with one of my mods was this wanted poster here, which comes with the business settlement mod. And basically that adds tons of signs, posters, and even some big giant billboards. So I'm sure you guys will start to see more and more of it as we go further into the series. And I've also just tried to toss a lot of things around to, you know, make this place look a bit more lively and as if people are actually in the town and doing things here. Speaking of people in the town, I finally set up, what is it called, the radio tower. So now we should have some settlers coming in and out, and hopefully this place will fill up in no time and actually look like it has some life to it besides all the stuff we placed down. But I believe that is pretty much it for the outside. I guess I will go ahead and give you guys one more look at some other things. You can see I've tried to make it not only the building but also some stuff outside, such as the Nuka Cola machine. And when you're placing these, it can get a bit repetitive, so try to do, you know, some unique things like throwing on an out of order sign. I think little things like that can really kind of improve and brighten up your build. And you know, speaking of the little things, although they are small, hence the name, a lot of the time they are one of the main things people do notice and kind of pick up on things. Take for instance, like the lighter or the switchblade on the checkered board here. You can imagine that maybe a toughed up group of mercs came in here and were playing a harsh game with a lot of caps on the line or something. And who knows, maybe the loser got their finger cut off, and you can also see there's like a knocked over cup. So it just kind of feeds into your imagination, and I guess people would either think they left in a hurry, or maybe they just got mad and they were some sort of a rowdy bunch and just kind of threw things around and made a mess of themselves. So that's kind of what's going on in this area as well. And when I'm building these things, I always try to fill up the wall with not only random stuff, but some things that kind of add a cool color palette. So you can see there's a lot of these white papers lying around, and there's also some reddish pink colors, hence the Brahmin, I guess, trophy here. But yeah, like I was saying, that's pretty much it for that wall. So we'll go ahead and move on over to the left side, which does happen to be the bar area of the saloon. And I've got to admit, it's probably my favorite section of the whole build. So over here in the left corner, we have the jukebox, and once again, back to the little things. We got some beer bottles, some brass knuckles, so maybe a fight went down here and whoever had those got kicked out, since who knows, maybe in bar fights, even in the apocalypse, those are kind of seen as an illegal weapon. I doubt that would be the case, but once again, I'm just trying to come up with ideas here. And back to the walls thing and filling those up with colors. You can see all around here, there's just tons of signs and whatnot that just kind of, you know, add almost some happiness to the build. It seems like this whole world is just so down in the dumps, so you gotta have some sort of color to brighten up everyone's mood, especially since that's kind of one of the main reasons why people come to bars and whatnot, to kind of get rid of all their crappy feelings. So yeah, we have a lot of those lying around. We also have this pool table I threw back here, and I actually had to go scavenging for a lot of this stuff, like all the cue balls and pool cues and whatnot. And you know, like I was saying, we have all this normal stuff that seems like it belongs, but since this is Fallout, you got to throw in some of these things like the beer and the jet just to make this thing look like it's actually used and lived in. So that's why a lot of this stuff is here. And you know, another thing you really want to try to add to your builds is not only a bunch of detail, but also a nice atmosphere, and that kind of comes with a mixture of a lot of things. Take for instance the cigarette here. If it wasn't lit, it wouldn't really be the same, or if it was lit and placed in, say, an area like this, it really wouldn't look as cool. And by all that I mean, you know, this is a dark area, it doesn't really have much lighting, but since the cigarette is lit and kind of has the smoke rising off it, it really kind of draws the eye to there, and you know, adds a kind of cool lighting effect that just isn't really something you see in a whole lot of other settlements, I guess. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. You got the money on the table. You know, I'm not really sure if I should keep that there, because although it's money and people nowadays pay for stuff with that, they use caps in Fallout, so you know what, I should remove that as soon as possible. But aside from that, you can see back here, once again, we got more posters, and since this is a bar, we have all these different mugs and glasses and whatnot. And I guess if they run out of all those and they have a really busy day, they have these tin cans as a last resort, and also a fan to kind of keep this place cool, or at least this little back section right here. Speaking of fans and lighting and all that great stuff, we have a bunch of those kind of covering the ceiling to, you know, just kind of add some movement. And since they do have the light, it really does kind of brighten up the area, and once again creates a really awesome atmosphere, at least in my opinion. And now we'll go ahead and move over to the right side of the build, which I'll admit isn't as cool as the bar area, but it's just, you know, a little bit extra that I thought would be kind of cool to throw in. Definitely makes the outside look better, and it kind of provided some room for this outside deck. But anyways, back here we have a little TV section, and obviously they're not getting reception, so it just kind of acts as a secondary light source, I guess you could say. Other than that, we have some tables just to kind of fill space. That's one thing you always want to add. It's just some extra stuff that still looks like it belongs there, but also just kind of fills things in and gives the eye some other, you know, nice things to look at. So we have a lot of those, and when you place these down, make sure you add some other things to them, such as like radios or ashtrays, or if you have a shelf like this, try to throw some extra things in that maybe the other sections of the build didn't have room for, such as like a telephone. That I don't know why they would use that, but it's there. It looks cool. Maybe this place was here before the war and survived, and they've done a lot of repairs to it. But we have that, like some extra games. You can see maybe they stack those up for any customers to come and play if they get bored of just drinking themselves to death. And we've also got some other little table areas where maybe people are doing deals and bowls are getting smashed and cigars are getting lit up. So we have that. And then last but not least, depending on your preference, this could either be a room for the saloon owner, or if you kind of want to turn this into a sort of tavern or inn, you could make this a room for rent. But I think that is pretty much it. So once again, let me know what you guys thought of this kind of new way of doing things. I know, once again, it's not as cinematic, but I'm hoping for those of you who want to build your own settlements and maybe don't have all the ideas to make something like this, I'm counting on this maybe being your go-to thing to not necessarily take ideas from, although you could do that, but more so gain some inspiration and see some things you might want to try out and whatnot. But yeah, like I said, that's going to do it for today, so be sure and let me know any ideas you have for some future builds we could try around here. And as always, I will see you in the next one.